listening to Around Comics.
Ben, you are listening and watching and streaming, and I'm gigantic in my camera again for some reason. I don't know.
Back off, crazy man.
Chris has the vibe of a man in front of a computer screen. The soft blue glow.
As we said beforehand, I'm here to talk about critical race theory.
Did you get much whiter? Did you all of a sudden get much whiter since last week? It seems like
it is Wisconsin in the fall. So
is your beard?
We're not starting to not see the sun. So
I think your beard is really bouncing the blue off of the monitor and the
little gray, a little gray.
It's
Santa Claus.
We all become silverbacks, right?
Yeah, not me. Fuck that.
No.
I will it not to happen.
No, I think that's Around Comics is brought to you by Grecian Formula.
By old men and Tom. Two old men and Tom.
I got some grays in my beard, but I've I've maintained a non-gray beard.
It comes, Tom.
I'm sure at some point
will happen.
Mine's multicolored.
Yeah,
it's not long.
I think we have comics to talk about this week.
Comics,
or we could just talk about Dune.
All right, so Tom, I'm going to throw this out there. I appreciate you wanting to talk about Dune, and we're going to talk about Dune, but there is a price that you must pay.
To pay?
There's a price that you must pay.
Here's the thing, guys. ACTV is on one of the days that I am the most locked into the culture other people care about. I got Packer games, I got Halloween, I got these things. You know how many pieces of candy I gave out? 800 pieces of candy last year.
I'm going to give you a Halloween pass, but this Packer bullshit has got to stop.
My team's good. I won't watch them.
Fuck you.
I'm going to give you a Halloween pass, but this Packer shit has got to fucking stop. Because Sal and I don't want to fucking hear about it.
I think I'm going to mutiny. I'm with Tom now. I can't do ACTV any longer. I have to watch the Packers too. I'm becoming a Packer fan. Fuck the Bears. I'm on the Packer bandwagon now.
You can hate the Bears and the Packers equally.
That's
okay.
Well,
no one likes the Bears more than Bears fans.
Well,
that's
yes,
true.
All right.
We might have a quarterback. They're going to get him murdered, but
he's going to die before.
No, it doesn't matter as long as that ownership group is still there, and as long as the McCaskies own that team, they're going to be terrible. I don't want to fucking talk about it. I hate football. Fuck the Bears.
You don't want to go out to Arlington Heights?
No, I don't. Care. But I do care about Dune, and we talked about it on Sunday on ACTV.
Kadoom.
Okay.
Well, this here show you would listen to, and it would be amazing because for like $5 a month, you can get access to all of our extra stuff, including ACTV and Tom Versus. But since Tom had Halloween duties, I'm going to give him a pass, and I want to know what Tom thinks about Dune.
I didn't fall asleep.
Dune.
It passed the Tom test.
It passed the Tom test. I stayed awake. I watched the whole thing. I stayed up way past my bedtime and watched it all in one shot.
Yeah.
It was great. Yeah, I loved it. It was cool.
Loved it.
It was like a weirdo. It's like a totally it maintains the spirit of what Dune is, which is just like a weirdo like 60s, 70s sci-fi, like, pre Star Wars, like psychedelic weirdness,
super hard sci-fi.
Yeah, like they've
are you like Sal and I, who Sal, you never finished reading the book Dune, right?
I think I'm well, I will say this. I had tried reading it once about, I don't know, we were talking about it a while ago. I got about a chapter and a half in, and then I went away from it.
I've started Dune like 10 times in my life.
Yeah,
I love the first book. I've read it multiple times. The rest of them I do not enjoy, but I like the first one.
After watching the movie, I decided I wanted to go back and read the book because it kind of made more sense to me. Which is
it's a very in a lot of ways, it's more it's much closer to the book I think in spirit.
Than I am as opposed to the Lynch movie, which I still to this day enjoy that movie.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with the Lynch movie,
David Lynch.
It is what it is, and I enjoy it for what it is.
To be fair to the Lynch movie, to be fair to David Lynch, he doesn't like
right
it either.
Now, Sal is a fucking Lynch movie.
To be fair though, David Lynch also doesn't like it, so it's not like it was his.
I like that movie. I'm such a weirdo.
But
the
thing that they did really well, in the new one is, I think that they gave the actors room to like act, as opposed to in the
reciting
Lynch,
weirdo
in the Lynch movie they never quite, though I enjoy a lot of the actors in the movie and I think they were quite game for it, you never quite escape the idea that they're reading lines to each other. Like there's not a lot of moments where it's sort of like
it's a really stiff movie.
Yeah, it's like, like kind of believable, and goddamn that Timothy Chalamet, he's a good actor,
isn't he?
Right?
For a goofy looking little twerpy, long-haired goo ball. Yeah, he's a really good actor.
Yeah.
I see why everyone keeps talking about him. It's like,
he didn't even suck on SNL, surprisingly.
No, he was good on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, he did such a good job in that character, of like buying that he's the combination of someone who's like has been sort of manipulated into being something he doesn't quite want to be, and like sort of the fear of that, of like, the fear that I'm going to start essentially like a war across the universe. Like that's my fate of what's going to happen. And like,
it's difficult understanding that you might be a messiah.
Yeah. And like but still keeping him pretty human, and like, he's like approachable, or you like you can empathize with him, right? And I think they did such a good job with all of the roles in that movie, from Oscar Isaac as the father to like,
is Paul's the POV character in that book, right?
Yeah, but you leave him sometimes. It's not always through him. Like there are moments where he's not present. So
but he's the one that you always come back to.
Yes, yeah. And like, they did such a good job, I think, of like casting all the characters and giving all the people room to sort of like, I don't know, you like his dad, and you like Jason Momoa is just like an extremely likable action hero, right? So like you use that to his full advantage by making him the character that you're supposed to like a lot and be disappointed with what ends up happening to, they did a really good job. I was like, this is like cool, but they didn't lose all the weirdness either, right? Like there's still weird stuff in it, and there's still like crazy spaceships, and there's still like really huge epic battle scenes that are kind of crazy, and like they didn't get caught up in like, we have to explain what a mentat is. Like, you don't. Like, that's actually not important. Like, you get what those characters are supposed to be. They're like the advisors to these guys. You don't need to like have like this weird moment where you explain exactly what they are, because it's not really important to the heart of the story, right? Like, you understand their role and like what they do, but like you don't need to like go into their history to like get it.
It's an organic thing. It's what is interesting to me, and we can kind of talk about it for a minute or not, is that right now we have two of the arguably most important hard sci-fi stories of all time that are being reimagined for big screen / streaming. And Sal scrunches his face, but
Foundation
and Dune are two of the most important hard sci-fi stories of all time.
When you say important, I just don't know what makes them important.
Foundation awarded greatest sci-fi story of like all time, like Hugo Awards at one point. Is it? I don't know, but by like
that doesn't make it important.
No, I think Foundation is an incredibly important hard sci-fi story. That Foundation is written in the 1940s. It is setting the basis for what we judge and view sci-fi stories today, and Dune is in that same category. I mean, these are like, no irony intended, foundational sci-fi stories that we're now finally being able to see realized visually, through special effects, modern storytelling, etc. I think it's really awesome to see these types of stories finally be realized. And whether you like the first 3 episodes of Foundation or not, it's still an important sci-fi story. It's something that whenever we were growing up, I mean, that was one of the.
I can't help but snicker at the idea of really any sci-fi story being important in the
Star Wars kind of has its moment.
Is it important? Would the world be a different, worse place without it?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know. I don't know if that's true.
I think is it socially relevant? Yeah, sure it is. And I think that Foundation is. I think that Dune is. I think that there are millions of people that those stories are very important to, and it helps guide their worldview. So I think that
Dune
Foundation. I think that Dune. I think that Star Wars. I think those are all very important.
Dune is a foundational text for weirdos,
nerds,
nerds, the nerdiest nerds. To like, we have to talk about, like, I read all of them when I was at my nerdiest phase of my life. Ages 12 through 14, where like you're just like, oh, yes, I enjoy, and
fucking Elon Musk read that fucking book. And at some point, it's whether it's good or bad, it has relevance.
So has it been better or worse?
I don't know, dude. You're talking.
It's relevant. It's relevant. It's relevant and it's influential.
Not to me.
Oh, sure it is.
I mean,
no, it isn't. Dune and the Foundation are not relevant to me in any way.
Sure, of course they are.
I've never read either one of them. How could
as someone who regularly drinks his own urine? Dune has been a foundational text of maintaining my hydration. You notice they don't mention that it recycles your urine in the movie.
I like the Dune movie. Foundation's a pile of garbage.
I was gonna say.
I want you to hang in there, man.
I was gonna say
it's getting much better.
Dune. I remember how much I really loved the first book. And all the other books after it, if I remember correct. And I don't. The only thing I remember, there's 2 things about all the Dune books after. There's 3 things that I remember. 1, I liked each one less and less until I got to the last one. And I was like, oh, okay. Paul, either Paul or his son become an actual worm.
What?
Yeah,
Paul died. No, it's Paul's son because Paul dies in the. Sorry, spoilers. Paul dies in the second book.
And then Duncan Idaho comes back, which always pissed me off. But now, in hindsight, it's really a great commentary on like the diminishing returns of like. If it came out now, I would think that it was a commentary on like, oh, you want this character back so bad. Here's like a shitty version of it, and we're gonna keep bringing it back and jamming it in your face. This isn't the real one. This is it's a great
Red Hood over and over again.
Yeah, it's like, here you go. You wanted him back so bad. You wanted him back so goddamn much. Here he is.
Here's your fucking Jason Todd.
Here he is. We cloned him. It's like a shittier version. Yep. Here you go. You're gonna get more of them over and over again.
Wayne says yes. His son Leto II becomes a worm.
Yeah. There you go.
That sounds right.
Comments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's good. I enjoy the movie. I think they've announced a part 2, which will start filming in like 8 or 10 years.
No. Spice, guys. Get high off that spice.
Much like Timothy Chalamet, I found it to be weird but approachable.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like
And the 6 minutes of Zendaya was great.
Not speaking.
Yeah.
Did she say anything in them?
Like 20 words. Yeah. She'll be a lot in the second part.
Yeah. It was good. It's a foundational text.
Important.
It's important. It's a Dune. Well, foundation can be foundational, and Dune should be like Dune. It's a Dune-tastic text. One of the most,
I like it. I like it for old nerds like us that, this stuff that we were reading in, 1984 is, 1986 or whatever is, important again. And they're
I don't know. I think we should bring bullying back.
Yeah.
I think the nerds are too confident now.
Oh, for sure.
And some people need to get, you don't stop reading Dune in public. So if I see you reading Dune in public,
as like 10 years ago, the guy that had the portable record player that would like listen to vinyl with headphones on in the coffee shop.
He should have been shot.
That is now the person who is reading Dune.
I'm gonna slap that copy of Dune out of your hands, you fucking nerd.
Wow.
Yeah. There you go. All right. Y'all want to talk some comics?
Sure. Better than Foundation.
Come on, man. Give it a couple more episodes and let me know what you think, because we need to discuss
Is Isaac Asimov getting added to our who's the Cthulhu guy again? List of guys.
I think Asimov and Lovecraft.
And
Tolkien are all, to me, in the same realm of way overwritten and
high concept,
overrated,
impenetrable, high concept.
Just way overwritten. Like, the problem with all those guys is they think they're so fucking smart that they have to explain so much to people that it just makes it
Who do you like the best? Who do you like the best out of the three?
Out of the three of them?
I have an answer.
What's your
Tolkien?
criteria?
I would say,
what's your criteria for like best?
The one I enjoy the most.
Which
the
one
you like? Which one you actually?
That's different than best.
Which one you actually like reading?
We're asking subjectively what is
subjectively. I don't know who the actual.
Like I would say Asimov, Tolkien, and Lovecraft.
Though I guess if we're talking objectively, I would argue Tolkien. I would also think might be objectively.
Yeah, I think Tolkien.
I guess probably. Like as far as like style and like.
Yeah, I would agree Tolkien out of those three.
Yeah, I also enjoy him the most because who's the one you enjoy the least?
H.P. Lovecraft was the most racist. I appreciate that.
And the most fucking impenetrable.
Yeah.
I mean, Tolkien maybe
I don't
not
think
a
so.
Great writer, but
Lovecraft.
He created a fucking genre, right? He created.
So did Lovecraft.
Asimov, I found,
but not as good.
I find impenetrable. I find
that's arguable.
I find Lovecraft the most boring, but Asimov the most impenetrable. Where like every time I've tried to read an Asimov thing, I feel like
what did he create? What genre did Isaac Asimov create? Sci-fi? He didn't fucking create sci-fi.
No, I didn't say that. I said Tolkien did.
horny robot. No, did he?
I think Tolkien kind of created
fantasy,
the modern fantasy, like elves and ents and hobbits and
orcs
and all
shit.
that.
Tom Bombadil.
Because I don't think that Asimov created sci-fi. He created maybe hard sci-fi.
The hardest.
And Lovecraft.
The hardest to read.
The hardest to read sci-fi. The hardest to enjoy. You created the hardest to enjoy sci-fi.
Yeah.
I feel I no disrespect to Mr. Asimov as I say he's the hardest to read. I feel like I'm picking on the man.
I've read Russian literature easier than
that's what we were talking about Foundation, and I think on an ACTV, Sal's like, yeah, it's really hard to get into. And I was like, yeah, you kind of have to think of it as he's Russian. You kind of have to think of it like like Russian literature. It's hard.
The Russian literature is full of like rich emotion and like despair.
It might be difficult to read, but they'll give you an entire fucking emotional roller coaster in one paragraph, as opposed to Asimov, who will write for fucking decades and not give you any emotion whatsoever. It's just like,
Asimov, think about if your most famous thing is you came up with the rules for robots.
Not really a character.
Not even real rules. Just rules right now.
It's true. I do love that there's some iRobot that gets folded into Foundation. I'm a little bit of a nerd. All right, let's talk.
Props out to the Asimov family. You get your money, guys. Cash them checks.
Absolutely.
Get that money.
Sal, we both read a comic this past week that I think we both enjoyed mightily by one of my favorite artists / creators of the last decade, Mr. Cliff Chiang.
Yeah, is he one of your favorite artists?
Yeah, I think he's one of my favorite. He's definitely one of my favorite artists. I never really considered him like the full-fledged writer, artist, inker, colorist, but he's doing everything on Catwoman. Is it what is it? Catwoman?
Lonely City.
Lonely City. He's doing it all. It's the first thing that I can think of that he's written and drawn. And usually when that happens, Tony Daniels, it's mediocre. But I think Chiang absolutely crushed this.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's a Black Label book. I didn't know what it was when I picked it up, but I saw that Cliff Chiang was doing it, and I wasn't aware that he wrote it and everything when I picked it up until I opened the book up. But yeah, he's handling the whole shebang, and it's where I like superheroes now, which is in sort of an alternate timeline, not attached to anything else, so that writers and artists can just kind of tell a story without it having to be wrapped up in some fucking bullshit event or tied in with 75 other goddamn storylines, or hundreds and hundreds of issues of continuity and all that boring bullshit that modern comics is all about. Where this is just sort of a future story, possibly an alternate history story, where Catwoman, in the beginning, she's just recently released from prison, and she comes back to Gotham, and she's sort of an older woman. She, at this point, I don't know, they don't really say how old she is, but my guess is somewhere.
Yes, they do. She's 55.
Oh, they do. Oh, she's 55.
Yeah,
okay.
Whenever the Bat Cop does a scan on her, it gives her age. She's 55.
Oh, okay. So she's a middle-aged Catwoman, and she's trying to get back into the game of being Catwoman and some other things, but she's having a little difficult time at 55. It's not like it was when she was younger.
Yeah.
And
knees are in a springy, back's a little cranky.
I know how she feels. she doesn't. I mean, she has, some resources, but a lot of them are gone, and pretty much everyone in Gotham is gone. Gotham is a much different place than when she left. She's infamous now, more so than she was before. I mean, as she's, sort of going to get a coffee for $17 or whatever, $20 for coffee.
$20 for a medium latte.
Yeah. Her face is plastered all over the Gotham Post, and then we find out that Harvey Dent is the mayor, and he seemingly has his dark side under control. He's kind of accepted it, if you will, and I don't think Selina buys it, but that is going to kind of, I think, play out as the book goes along. Their sort of animosity towards one another, and so yeah, I don't want to give too much away of it. Really, it just came out, so I don't want to spoil anything. But it's really fun. Like Cliff Chiang has
really good.
Yeah, he has a really fun feel for it, and for Gotham and the characters, his character designs, and especially sort of like these a little older, middle-aged, like you see a middle-aged Killer Croc, which is very funny
with the flat cap and the Gotham Knights jersey, and he's kind of half in the bag in a bar, which I love that it's at Red Tornadoes, the original Red Tornadoes bar.
Ma Hunkle,
Ma Hunkle's bar.
She's still tossing.
Ma Hunkle is in this book.
Yeah, there you go. It's always good to see Ma Hunkle.
I mean, it's like, yeah, they're hanging out at Ma Hunkle's bar, which is kind of a safe space for the Gotham Underground at a time when Gotham Underground is really heavily policed. And so what I like, it was a lot of social commentary on, how much is too much when it comes to government intervention in the name of law and order and how we go about our daily lives. So there is definitely that undertone into it. And, Selina is great, as always. I think Cliff Chiang understands that character and her rebellious streak. And there's always the thing that she's wanting to buck the law, but underneath that, she wants to do what's right. And so in this story, without spoiling it, she's trying to do something that is for the greater good, but she has to go against the establishment to do it. And so you root for her and against the establishment, which it's done incredibly, incredibly well. And because it's Cliff Chiang, it looks great.
It definitely does look great. It's yeah, I mean, he handles the art duties on the whole thing, and it's a beautiful book, and yeah, really entertaining, really fun. I wasn't expecting it at all. Like, I wasn't expecting to enjoy it nearly as much as I did. It was really fun, and it felt like a not of that level, but sort of like a Dark Knight Returns, or sort of Batman. What was the Batman 3000 or Batman 2099? The Paul Pope one.
It's got some Darwin Cook New Frontier. There's one page. There's a splash page where she's doing a misdirection with a smoke bomb against the Bat Cops, and it's her jumping out of the smoke, and she has this giant shit-eating grin, and it's this joy of this character doing what she can do that normal people can't. And I look at this page and I'm just like, that is so Darwin Cook. It makes me happy and sad at the same time to look at this page. I mean, he just captures that joy of being a super person, right?
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, I think Cliff Chiang is certainly one of those artists that has sort of a retro style, like Darwin Cook. That's a throwback. He looks so good when he's drawing DC characters, because at least for me, because you just get that Silver Age feel, although the artwork is very modern and
Sure.
incredibly well done. It still has that feeling of the fun from the Silver Age stuff. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was all I love how he showed. I mean, we get to see the Penguin, we get to see
which was kind of almost like I don't want to go there too much, but kind of a Me Too moment where she's like, "Fuck you, you dirty old man."
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I didn't really read it like that, but just the idea of
when she punched him as he was basically saying that, yeah, you can be a sexual object for my casino.
You offered her a job, man. It's like, hey, you're 55-year-old Catwoman. I don't know, you don't have maybe the skills left.
I don't know if that's the page I'm talking about where she's
hard to see on the
sorry. Just an awesome page.
But yeah, it was cool. I enjoyed it.
Sweet. Tom, what do you have?
Oh, I've started a new job, so I don't have a ton. I caught up on some X-Men. I like to dip into the X-Men world. The X-Men, I don't know, probably like the 50th X-Men series, the one that's Jerry Duggan and Pepe Larraz. It's gone like 4 issues. And it's pretty cool. I like it. Like it takes place in the X-Men. They're still within the status quo of the whole having Krakoa be their their home base, and there's a team now in New York City because some of the X-Men have decided that they need to sort of participate in being superheroes. They need to show people that they're not just the scary mutants who've taken control of their own destiny. They're also still here to help people. And it's good. I mean, it's like an interesting mix of characters. I always like I like Jerry Duggan's writing. It's always got a very nice light feel to it, right? Not in a bad way, but sort of and it's always got a really nice pace. It's just some fun superhero stuff, and I always like to dip my toe into the X-Men world every once in a while and see what's going on. And then when it starts to get to be too much, just immediately remove myself from it. I'm like, it's too much. I'm fine with just this. I don't need 800 things, And they've maintained a lot of sort of the design elements from Hickman, right? Where they'll have a text page that sort of breaks down what's happening, and that's still very much the aesthetic that they've kept, which is cool. I like that aesthetic, and I like the way they've sort of treated the X-Men characters and finding a way to sort of give them a real vibe to them, to have an overarching sort of X-Men story going to it. So there's always that backdrop of now the X-Men are not, mutants aren't simply just the, beleaguered minority on Earth. They've sort of found a way to claim a huge, they've claimed Mars. They've set up a colony on Mars, they've, they're not just barely hanging on. They're sort of perhaps taking their rightful evolutionary place. You even get a nice high evolutionary sighting at one point in these stories. So it's cool. I enjoyed it. Some nice, just superhero comics.
What was the name of it, of that particular run, or what was
the X-Men? It's on issue 4 is the most recent one.
Oh, it's just the regular X-Men.
Yeah, just regular X-Men.
Gotcha. X-Men. Yeah.
It's just a fun X-Men story. Keep it pretty simple.
It is always a thing with the X-Men. When does it become cumbersome? Inevitably, it's just
inevitably it becomes.
It just is that book. It's just those characters.
There's so many characters. There's so and I think one thing that is cool about it is it's not just here's a bunch of fan favorites put together, right? Like they've you have your Jean Grey and your Cyclops, but you also have like newer X-Men that maybe you don't know as much about who happen to be on the team with them. And
Thank you, Grant Morrison.
Yeah, you can kind of see different characters, like the Wolverine in this is his daughter. It's not Wolverine, like you can kind of see like a interesting mix of characters. And like you get to, see them interact, and you get to see, how they, interact with each other and with the world at large, and you see other superheroes kind of interact with them, which is interesting.
The X-Men. Yeah, I did enjoy the Hickman stuff. But once again, it got to the point where it was just like it started to spin out of control.
Yeah,
it's like just tell that
I don't know. Well, I mean, it can't help but do that. I mean, they tried to, the last kind of nice reset. In this, I sound like such an old fucking fart. X-Men First Class was great because it's like, oh, okay, I can jump into this. This is great.
Yeah, I mean, I think Hickman did a great job of like setting up the X-Men, like I said, to have like their sort of like baseline of what's happening in the X books is different and very like interesting, and places them in a much different place than if you had read the X-Men before Hickman sort of touched them and then read it after, you would be like, oh, okay, like interesting, like this is different. And I think it's the problem with the X-Men is they're extremely popular.
I was gonna say they're a victim
the inclination is to pump out all your ancillary X books, and like it becomes complicated because that's the balance you have. And then in a few years, you'll have to get some other creative team to like reset it, and then you go through the whole dance again, where you eventually end up putting out too many X books.
And that's comics.
Yeah, but I mean, I do give credit to this book for like. Also, I think the X-Men fall victim a lot to nostalgia, even more than I think all superheroes are victims of nostalgia, right? They're all victims of like let's replay this thing from the past. Like it's pretty much what the genre within the big two is built around as well. Like how do you recombine old things in interesting ways? But I do think sometimes the X-Men, because of their popularity for very specific versions of them, right? Like there's the people that love the X-Men from the cartoon, right? And there's people that love the Claremont X-Men. There's these really powerful nostalgic points that like the X-Men end up falling into, where it's like, here's a book that puts the Claremont X-Men together, and here's a book that brings the cartoon, like there's these there's like, I don't know, we've talked about that before.
I mean, my heart is a Byrne Claremont X-Men team. That is if you say, Chris, what is your version of the X-Men? I'm gonna give you a Byrne Claremont late 70s, early 80s X-Men team. There's a whole other generation that is a John Romita Jr. Claremont X-Men, and then there's a whole like 3-4 times that size group that's like, oh, it's the 90s cartoon.
Yeah, and I think
we talked about all of that.
We talk about that, we've talked about that with the Doom Patrol and the Hulk, and like what's the definitive in your mind version of the X-Men? Well, the X-Men have, because I mean, when you think about it, before there was the Marvel movies, were the X-Men kind of like I'm saying this out loud without thinking about it ahead of time, they had sort of made their imprint on popular culture to a much larger degree than I think just about anything else had before the Marvel movies kind of like,
because of the 90s.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I would say, would be the only other thing. But
like,
for sure.
Kind of like,
the 90s cartoon was huge.
Yeah, and then the the movies existed. Like they had an outsized popular culture stature, like beyond the other Marvel characters, like far beyond the other Marvel characters. So,
there was a point where Wolverine was probably, from a zeitgeist pop culture standpoint, as recognizable as Spider-Man, if not more.
So like I think that plays into it too, where they're like they've like they have the realities of the movie making process where Marvel, like Marvel makes Avengers movies, like now they'll start making X-Men movies, I guess. I think that's what the deal is. But like once they got into the movie business, like all of a sudden these other characters are now sort of like getting that attention. But anyway, like the book. Fun act.
I love in our comment. I love in the comment section that Joe Gluzik, who I love, is throwing shade on one of my favorite X-Men stories of all time.
Well, which story?
The Paul Smith drawn Brood. It's one of my all-time favorite X-Men stories.
The Brood. The Brood are.
Oh, yeah, but Paul Smith drawn that Brood run. That was some seriously awesome shit. Yeah, and was it playing off the Ridley Scott Alien movie? Yeah, because that's what fucking comics do, right?
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
What are your who's like your favorite X-Man? Not like other than the obvious choices, maybe something that's not, one of the real main, like, is there another X-Men that you've really liked?
Oh God!
For whatever reason.
I was a
kid,
hard call. When I was a kid, I loved the New Mutants. That was like my favorite X book, and it was always like I loved Doug Ramsey, because I just thought that was like the most interesting character. And I should say, one cool thing that Hickman did was find a way to make Doug Ramsey again like kind of an interesting character beyond just like he's alive again, like that. I liked that character because he was so, his power was like one that in practical reality would be so useful, but in comic book reality it was always the tension of like, well, what does he do? Like, how is he gonna like defeat anybody, right? But like that idea of like a character who he's inherently in danger all the time. His power doesn't protect him for anything. He's not like gonna fight anybody, right? And like the whole idea of him dying, being like, yeah, it was fucking, like I still remember that New Mutant story where after he dies, and I think it might have been a Secret Wars crossover one where when Magneto was in charge of the school, and like he's like devastated by Doug dying, because it's sort of like he's a kid at the school, right? And like he shouldn't have been doing these things like this. Like he was gonna die. Like he couldn't fight. Like there was like he's
an office worker.
And they're like running around. Yeah, and he dies, and it's like, I don't know. I thought there was always something really cool with the way they treated that, of like being like, this would be a big deal. Like these kids were kind of running around pretending to be superheroes, and then one of them died.
Yeah,
and it's sort of like, well, yeah, that's the risk, and no one's in charge of them. No one's like taking care of them. Like they've been sort of forgotten by everybody. So I always liked him as a character, because I always loved that story when I was a kid.
Nice.
Scott,
Chris?
Scott Summers.
All right, somebody other than one of the main.
What, I can't pick one of the original 5?
No, come on, dig a little deeper than that. Besides, Cyclops sucks.
Does he?
Kind of. He's a tool. He's always been kind of a tooly kind of character. I don't know. Cyclops is. I don't know. I was thinking more outside of. Yeah, those guys.
Fine.
Like Wolverine or
Pixie.
Pixie.
Sure.
Why Pixie?
Because it's not Scott Summers, and you told me to pick someone else.
Christ.
Oh my God! Fine, you get that.
Okay,
Fine,
I guess you get
Chris,
Scott Summers. Way to really.
Fine. Sal, what's your answer?
Well, I did love the new X-Men as well. I was a huge fan of the new X-Men, and I always liked Cannonball a lot. But
because he was so artistically interesting.
Yeah,
like
that was
when they would draw him. Yeah,
and I always felt like he was a character that, you know, he couldn't really control his powers that well, and it was almost like, you know,
like Scott Summers.
He didn't want to necessarily be. But honestly, the character that I always really liked a lot, and I don't know if it was just because he was kind of like a Wolverine, you know, wannabe, but I always loved the idea of the character, and I always loved the costume, was Thunderbird. I always fucking loved Thunderbird, and nobody's ever given a shit about Thunderbird. Like, he's just, you know, he dies.
They make a reference to him in the comic I just talked about.
Oh, do they?
The first one or the second one?
The first one.
Hold on. 1 second.
Because they talk about naming their plane after him.
Oh, nice.
Because a big part of the book is like the X-Men, they build like a headquarters in New York, and like part of it is they build a museum to like mutants that have died, but they also name it after like the fact that there was this black neighborhood in New York that's got like torn down to build like skyscrapers, because they're trying to like their plan is like, hey, we're participating in the world, like we're not just about ourselves, like we want to like, honor anyone who's been oppressed or feels like they've been like, put down upon, you know, like there's but yeah, they talk about naming the bird their plane after Thunderbird.
Cool.
The only comic that my dad ever bought me for Christmas.
X-Men 95.
X-Men 95. The Death of Thunderbird.
Yeah, I mean, he was basically created to die. I mean, he was basically created to fail, and I don't know, but there was always something about that character. I was like, man, he was such a cool looking character, and the whole idea that he was a Native American mutant, and I don't know, I just always really liked that character. And then and then you know, they did bring was his brother that came back, or right. But at that point, it was just like, I don't know. John Proudstar was Thunderbird, and they just didn't really do anything with him. I don't know. I always thought he was just a cool character. I loved seeing him in the X. You know, he's in the X-Men movie, one of them at one point. You know, and I thought that was pretty cool. But I always had a thing for Thunderbird. I just thought he was part of it for in no small amount is the costume. I think he has a cool,
great costume.
Fucking costume. Yeah. But I mean,
you know, from the time that we were growing up, I mean, obviously, Kitty. You know, Kitty was the POV character for a lot of us. You know, at that time, she was, you know, at a time when, you know, the X-Men were established and you were a teenager reading that comic book. She was the Peter Parker for the X-Men. She was the younger character who was trying to, you know, right?
I always related to Wolverine.
Okay. Yeah.
Short.
Don't really want to be here. Don't really want anything to do with this.
Yeah.
Can't believe I
always loved Kitty. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and she had, you know, like when she had her mini series, I think that was a big, you know,
she was changing her fucking name every 10 fucking
Shadow
issues,
Cat,
you know?
and
Sprite. That was a terrible idea. But yeah.
It can be hard when you're a teenager.
It can be difficult.
It can be difficult to find yourself.
Yeah. So she was the teenager character when we were, you know, preteens and teenagers.
You're getting a real glimpse into like 12-year-old Tom reading Dune. Doug Ramsey's his favorite New Mutant. Just like a sad
Douglock.
Just a sad Not Douglock.
You were not a Douglock
you're
fan?
Anti-Douglock, huh?
No.
I love that character though. Not Douglock, but
yeah.
What's his name? What was
Warlock?
Warlock was
Warlock was awesome.
It was a great job. That's like what the New Mutants really had going for them was like, you could tell that artists really loved drawing their powers. Like Cannonball. He had that awesome power, and
Sienkiewicz doing New Mutants and that Warlock.
You could go nuts with Warlock, and then like
even what's his name, the Sunspot.
Yeah,
he was kind of cool looking, and I always Rain too. I always felt I had empathy for Rain. Like she was such a sad character in a lot of ways. I thought,
what a great character.
Yeah, for sure. The New Mutants were way better than the X-Men in my at that time.
Sure. It's oh shit. I was gonna that's why that the whole X-Men Asgard New Mutants crossover.
Yeah.
That's one of my all-time favorite stories from that time, because it was it was New Mutants and the X-Men, and the New Mutants basically establishing themselves as being as good or as up to the task of the X-Men, even facing gods.
Yeah. Well,
I love that story.
What I always loved about New Mutants was that like they could jump around from so many different things, from like, Warlock's a science fiction character, but then they could be in hell with magic, for a couple issues.
Or Danny's, indigenous people war with the demon bear.
So like there was always like an interesting mix of what could happen in like a New Mutant story. Like,
and then quite often you'd get Art Adams drawing it, which was never bad, right? It was like, think about it, like fucking you had Art Adams, John Byrne, and Bill Sienkiewicz and Paul Smith drawn New Mutants. So you've got like 4 of the all-time great comic book artists are drawing those series, which is not a bad thing.
Not bad. And you had Claremont and Simonson writing it.
It was good.
And then Rob Liefeld killed it.
Gave him all pouches.
Give him pouches. Brought in that Deadpool guy.
Cable shows up.
Yeah, Shatterstar and Domino.
X-Force.
Yeah.
Oh man, I was so fucking pumped for that. So hell yeah.
Let's kick some ass.
Finally, exactly. It was great. Loved it.
Yeah, I've got to read those lead up issues of New Mutants before the Liefeld takeover and see if they were really terrible or not. I have no idea who was leading up to that.
Did you guys ever watch the movie, the New Mutants movie?
No.
Yeah, I liked it.
I've tried to watch it twice because I really want to love it, and I
enjoyed it.
Did not pass the Tom test either time. I fell asleep. Yeah. I do not honestly know what happens in that movie, even though I've watched it twice.
The gal who's who plays Queen's Gambit is Ileana, and she is Ileana. There's no actress that I can imagine them casting in that role. It's the older brother in Stranger Things plays Sam, which was fine. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good.
Yeah, I don't know. Someday maybe I'll go back to it.
It was
I tried it. I tried it twice. I did. It did not.
They tried to release that show, that movie for like 5 fucking years, so you'll never see a second one. But it's fine. It's fine. I think that is a movie that had like the ultimate amount of hurdles to try and get over to actually get released. Capped with a global pandemic. So it was fine. It's a decent comic book movie. They don't all have to be great.
Yeah.
They do for me.
No,
They
they
all
don't.
have to be
They can
great.
occasionally be just okay, or
No.
sometimes not very good.
I'm aging rapidly. I don't have time for okay movies.
What do you need? What do you need in your
great
life
movies
to fulfill your life as a comic book fan? What do you need to see? Yeah.
Great movies.
What are you waiting for now? What do you need to see made? Like Daredevil,
John Proudstar. I don't know. I don't need any of it.
You need a great Thunderbird movie.
I don't need anything. I feel at this point I have too much.
Right.
I definitely don't need an Eternals movie. I know that.
I put the Tom Kitter's hex on it. No one's gonna see that movie.
Yeah,
when's the Venom like Ultimate Carnage movie coming out? Is that soon?
I thought that came out already.
Oh, did it?
The Venom 2? Yeah, that came out.
That's how fucking spoiled we are. I was like, yeah, okay, I haven't seen it yet.
I still haven't seen Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi.
Well, that's not how they pronounce it.
Oh, it's Shang-Chi?
It's like Shang-Chi. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did we read DC versus Vampires?
I did.
Now
past Halloween, I'm done.
I read it on Halloween.
Tom, you should read it. I enjoyed it. It's a good vampires take over the DCU, and it's like the old school like Justice League with like Zan. Like Zan is in it a lot, which is funny and weird.
Isn't there already a Justice League story where they fight vampire? Didn't Chris Claremont, when he did Justice League, because he can't ever fucking leave vampires alone, he's always got to jam a vampire story in. Like whenever the X-Men, whenever fucking a vampire was involved, that was always those moments where I was like,
X-Men versus Dracula.
It's like, okay, I guess. Like we'll see where this goes. Storm's a vampire now. It's like, you might be losing me here. Losing me here a touch.
Well, this is basically like
goes right down that rabbit hole. The Black
Marvel Zombies, but it's vampires.
Yeah. I'll give it a look.
It was fun.
It's really pretty. Super pretty.
Otto Schmidt, I think, is the artist. Yeah. Really good. That was what attracted me to it initially, was the art. I was like, ooh. And then the story was fun. It was like, it's a vampire story, but it's not, it's a different kind of vampire story kind of thing. But it is essentially like everyone's a vampire by the end of it.
It's the vampire from iVampire.
But it was like really fun, even though it was a vampire book. It wasn't
it has a little like 30 Days a Night feel to it. It's because his art kind of has that almost Ben Templesmith feel of like dirty, grimy, everything is dirty kind of feel.
Yeah, he's a lot slicker than Ben Templesmith. Yeah, but I know what you mean. Yeah.
You know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, but it didn't have it wasn't like a dark book. You know what I mean?
I think it will be. I think it's going.
Yeah, I think it might become that, but I hope it doesn't get too dark. I hope it doesn't, like, the tone doesn't shift so much, because I enjoyed the fact that it was fun and
you don't
colorful.
You don't want it to be DC metal, which is kind of what the danger is that it's going to be all of the heroes are fighting all of the villains who are not infected kind of thing. But it's gonna it's gonna be a mishmash of the not like horrible villains fighting with the heroes against established heroes, and who's not vampires and who is, and all that kind of stuff. But it's pretty.
Ding.
Time's
up. Dinner's done.
I think that means time's up. If you enjoyed this rambling conversation, we appreciate it. if you appreciate it even more, you can head over to patreon.com/aroundcomics and become a patron, and you can unlock all sorts of extra commentary and specials, including ACTV, Tom Versus, Big Geek Show, newsletters, anything else we want to pump out on that Patreon channel. We appreciate it when you do so. We got some fun stuff coming up. We'll do some more ACTV this week, right, Sal?
Yeah.
I've
been catching up. I finished Ted Lasso. I'm catching up on Titans.
Nice.
I don't know if I'm going to get there on Foundation. We'll see.
Come on, get those last 2 episodes of Foundation. We'll talk about it. But Titans and Ted Lasso. I'll talk about Ted Lasso all night.
No, you won't. You can leave us a voicemail at 312-967-6282. You can email us at info@aroundcomics.com. If you'd like to get in touch with the show, please do. We'd love to hear from you.
Yep. We love the comment thread on Tuesday nights. So thanks to Wayne and Greg and Joe and the rest of the folks that always have their side conversations going on. We appreciate that.
Cool. Let us know of the who's your favorite Tolkien, Asimov,
or Lovecraft.
Who's your favorite X-Man and why? Or X-Woman? Wait a minute. Wayne said the Gifted TV series had John Proudstar in it. I don't even know what the Gifted is. That an X-Men TV? Is that a New Mutant TV series? I heard of that, but I didn't think it had anything to do with Marvel or Wayne. I need more information.
More info, please.
I don't know. Yeah, I never heard of such things. John, why would John Proudstar be in a show that I never? Anyway, it doesn't matter. I can figure it out. I can Google it at some point.
We're going to debate about Lower Decks and why I love it and why Sal hates it.
I'm not going to say anything about it because I'm not watching this shit show ever again.
I thoroughly enjoy it. I'm going to leave here. I'm going to watch the end of the second season of Lower Decks because it amuses me and I like it. Okay. The Gifted was a New Mutant TV series. It lasted 2 seasons. Interesting.
Bullshit. Really? They did a shitty job of advertising that.
Must have been awful. All right, guys. Always fun. Love talking with you. Everyone watching and listening, thank you for doing so on this here Tuesday night. We'll be back again with more content later in the week, and then back here next Tuesday. In the meantime,
in between time,
we'll be everywhere in
and around comics.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even mention Havoc. What a great character.
Oh, just because he's a Summers? Another Summers?
Oh my God.
The Summers brothers.
Oh my God.
Yeah.